In these video notes, we're going to go through two more ways on how to prove triangles are congruent. And the first one we need to go through, just before we do that, is the word included side. So the included side is the side connecting the vertices of two angles, as shown in the picture down below. So if you notice, this is the side right here that's the included side. The first way that we're going to go through and how to prove the two triangles are congruent is by angle, side, angle. So what that is if we have two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of a second triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So you have to notice that the side is between the two angles, and that's why it's the included side. So angle, side, angle, we label as ASA. So in our picture over here, you can see that angle A is going to be congruent to angle D. You can see that side AC is congruent to side DF. And then our angle C is congruent to our angle F. So if you notice, we've got an angle, then a side, and an angle. So an angle, a side, and an angle. So it has to be in that order. Then we can say that our two triangles are congruent. So the first one is set up as A to B to C. So our other one needs to go in the same order. So it'd be D to E to F. Remember, we are getting into proofs with how to use angle, side, angle in a picture. So remember, I'm doing these with you now so that in class it makes it a little bit easier. So first off, we have three given statements, and we have 1, 2, 3 given statements. We need to write all three of those down below. Remember, when you are writing these statements down here, do not change anything that is written. You use exactly what is written for the given. So next, we want to make sure that all three of these pieces of information are shown in our picture, and you can see that they are. So ZY is congruent to XW. That's this last one. And then we have two sets of parallel lines or sides in our triangle, and that's what the other pieces are. So if you notice, we have only mentioned that we have one side that's congruent to another side. So if we want to use angle, side, angle, we need to find angles on both sides of that side. So in this first one is given to us, so UXW, so UXW is right here in my triangle, is congruent to VZY. So right there, so those two angles are congruent. And the reason why is because we have two parallel lines and our transversal line going through it, and those green angles are corresponding angles. All right, so next up, we have another reason of why it's corresponding angles. There's another set we can say that's parallel, or that's congruent, and that would be because of the other sets of parallel lines. And we have another set that is congruent. So that would be angle ZYV, so this first one right here, is congruent to angle, and we're going to say XWU. And the reason, again, for those is the corresponding angles. So now we've got an A and we have another A, so two sets of angles. So we have side and two angles, but you have to look at where they're located. So our side that is mentioned is between the two angles. So we can say that these two triangles are congruent by angle, side, angle, and then our proof statement we're going to be copying down right here. So we have triangle WXU is congruent to triangle YZV. Remember, we are going to have two in this video, so we have angle, angle, side, so you have to look at where the S is located. It's still two angles on one side, but this one you have the two angles separate from the side. All right, so if we have two angles and the non-included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles in this corresponding non-included side of a second triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So you have to look at where the side is located. Is it between the two angles? If it's between them, then it's angle, side, angle. If it's not between them, then it's angle, angle, side. So for angle, angle, side in our picture, we have angle A is congruent to angle D. Next, we have angle C is congruent to angle F. And if you notice, the part that's different about this one is this other side. So we have side BC is congruent to side EF. And remember, it's not the included side, it's not between those two angles. Then we can say that our two triangles are congruent. So triangle ABC will be congruent to triangle DEF. So on these 4 questions, we're figuring out what is the third statement that we need to say is congruent to prove that our two triangles are congruent by the given postulate. So the first one is side angle side, next one is angle angle side, then angle side angle, and angle angle side again. So a little mixed up. So some review plus some new ones in there. So first off, put all the markings in your picture. So we're going to have DE is congruent to MN, angle M is congruent to angle D. So I've got an angle and I have a side. So we need another side. And if you notice, we have side angle side, so the other side needs to be on the other side of the angle given. So this means in our picture that the piece that I'm missing is DF will be congruent to MO. So DF is congruent to MO is the piece that we are missing for side angle side. So on to number 2. Number 2, we need angle angle side, so 2 angles in one side. So again, draw your markings on your picture. So FE is congruent to NO. Angle F right here is congruent to angle O. So we have one angle and we have one side. So based on our congruent statement, we know that we need another angle. And we can't put the angle on the other side of our side because then it would be angle side angle. We want the angle angle together. So it's going to have to be M is congruent to D. So angle M has to be congruent to angle D. For number 3, we have DF is congruent to MO, and angle F again is congruent to angle O. So again, we start with a side and an angle, but this time we want angle side angle, so we need another angle. And just like, well, we didn't have it before, but we have angle side angle. The side has to be between the two angles, so the angle has to be on the other side of the side given. So this means that the angle that we are missing on the other side of our sides, we have angle side angles, angle side angle are these two in purple right here. So angle D would have to be congruent to angle M. For the last one, BC is congruent to YZ, angle C is congruent to angle Z, and we need angle angle side. So we have an angle and we have a side, so we are missing another angle. And just like we saw before, the angle can't be on the other side of our side because then it would be angle side angle. We wanted the two angles to be next to each other and the side off to the edge. So our angle that we're missing then is going to be our A and our X. So angle A congruent to angle X. Now these last five questions are mixing together all of our different congruence theorems or postulates. So let's make a list of them first. So first we did side, side, side. Next we covered side, angle, side, and HL. And then in this video we've done angle, angle, side, and angle, side, angle. So those are the 5 that we have to choose from. So we always want to look for vertical angles, reflexive properties, and anything like that, because those are the type of angles we're going to be seeing in these pictures. So in this first one, number 5, we have vertical angles right here, that those are going to be congruent to each other. So now we have an angle, a side, and then an angle. So we're going to have angle, side, angle. Next, for number 6, you can see that the part that they share is a reflexive property there in the middle. So they share that middle side. So now we have all 3 sides, so it'd be side, side, side. For number 7, we're going to see something similar like number 5 in that we have vertical angles here again. So those pieces, the 2 angles in the middle will be congruent to each other. We already have these other sides paired up, so now we have side, angle, side. So we're going to have SAS. All right, for number 8, you can see that they share the side in the middle again, so that's going to be a reflexive property. then we notice that really we only have angle, side, side. But remember, angle, side, side, oops, cannot be used. So we can't use that one, but we do notice that it is a right triangle. And the other option we could use is, do we have HL? So do we have a hypotenuse and a leg? And we do in this one, because the purple parts is the hypotenuse, and then the markings in red are my two legs. For number 9, you can see that we have two different sets of angles that are congruent, so it's marked a little differently, and one side. And notice the side is not between the two angles, so this means that we cannot have angle, side, angle, because the side's not between them, so we have angle, angle, side as our reason of why those two triangles are congruent. So we've got an example of all 5 of the postulates or theorems that we've seen in this whole unit.